Well, Memorial Day is right around the corner, and it's a time to take a moment to remember those who fought and laid down their lives so we could enjoy the freedoms that this country has to offer. One person who has had a long history of paying tribute to the men and women of the U.S. Armed Forces is actor and humanitarian and just an amazing human being, my good friend, Gary Sinise. And he joins us now. Gary, it is so great to see you.
Thank you, Rita. Good to see you.
You know what? I know your history, but I want you to share it with all of our great viewers. Your family, you come from really just a huge, long line of military veterans on many different layers of your family. Talk about sort of your personal history before you get to the Lieutenant Dan Ben, which I love, and I'm impressed that you can do that.
Well, yeah, that's where it kind of all starts there with me. My dad served in the Navy during the Korean War. His two brothers, his older brothers, served. One in the Navy during World War II. The other was a navigator on a B-17 bomber over Europe in World War II. And then their father served in World War I. He was in France during the Battle of the Argonne, driving an ambulance during that battle in the U.S. Army. And then on my wife's side, Vietnam veterans. Her sister served in the Army as well, married a Vietnam veteran. Her two brothers were Vietnam veterans. I would actually probably give the Vietnam veterans on my wife's side of the family a little more of the credit for kind of opening my eyes back in the 70s and 80s when we met, and I started to learn from them about what it was like for them to go off to war to Vietnam and then come home, you know, during a time when our nation was very, very divided over the war and all of that. And I think, you know, a lot of my motivation today is to ensure that what happened to our Vietnam veterans when 50 years ago when they came home from war and the nation was divided and really shut the door on them, that doesn't happen again to our Iraq and Afghanistan veterans or anybody serving our country. And I feel that there's a lot of folks out there that kind of were motivated by that. You know, once we went to war in Afghanistan and Iraq, they wanted to make sure that we took care of our service members when they came home.
You know, it's amazing, too, and I know you see this, Gary, when you see the Vietnam veterans making sure that those who come now back from battle, they're almost the first ones in line to say thank you to the other veterans, because they want to make sure that next generations don't go through, as you point out, what they went through. You're doing a great concert. You do such amazing work. You're so multi-talented. I've seen you perform in person many times, but I know that you're going to be part of this great, great concert that's taking place on Friday to honor all of those who fought, but particularly, and I love that you're calling Welcome Home, because of course that's what I say to every Vietnam veteran. It's really a celebration of Vietnam veterans. Tell us about this amazing concert. And of course, this is basically coinciding with, of course, the 50th anniversary also of U.S. combat operations in Vietnam coming to an end. The timing of this is so powerful.
Well, right. As you know, I'm every year I'm in Washington, D.C. for Memorial Week, doing the National Memorial Day concert, which will be on May 28th on PBS once again, and then the parade, of course, on May 29th. I'll be there, and we're kind of featuring, because of the 50th anniversary, on the National Memorial Day concert, we're featuring our Vietnam veterans and particularly the return of the POWs that happened in February and March of 1973. It's 50 years since they came home. We're going to have 11 POWs on the National Memorial Day concert. But I wanted to do a little something extra to recognize this 50th anniversary. So we put this concert together, Welcome Home Celebration of Service for our Vietnam veterans, at Constitution Hall in Washington, D.C., Friday, May 26th. It's a free concert. We want as many Vietnam veterans to come as possible to know about it right there in D.C., May 26th. You can go to GarySiniseFoundation.org to see, to click on that you'll see it, and you can order tickets. The tickets are free, as I said. But it's going fast, and we feel certain that we're going to fill up Constitution Hall. So get your tickets, and especially if you're a Vietnam veteran, come and let us celebrate you. Let's have some fun with some music, and let us welcome you home.
Absolutely. And Gary, what does this mean to you personally? I think about, I can't believe it's the 30th anniversary coming up right next year of Forrest Gump. You, of course, played that memorable role in the film. By the way, I was with Robert Zemeckis last week, and we were talking about you, by the way, and what a great talent you are, of course, who was the director of Forrest Gump. But what does this mean to you personally, all these decades, and now to have, I can't believe, 11 POWs, that's going to be so meaningful.
Well, Bob Zemeckis is amazing, a director, and I was blessed to be able to play Lieutenant Dan in Forrest Gump. Yeah, next year is the 30th anniversary of the movie coming out. I never thought back then that I would be associated with a character so, completely as Lieutenant Dan, but I think, after September 11th, 2001, when we deployed to Afghanistan, Iraq, and people started coming home hurt, and I started visiting the hospitals, and at that time, my face wasn't that recognizable other than playing Lieutenant Dan. And I'd walk into a room, a hospital room, they wouldn't recognize me as Gary Sinise, but they would recognize me as Lieutenant Dan. And all those years later, having been involved with the Disabled American Veterans Organization, having built homes, 83 homes my foundation has been a part of, building for our wounded, and then starting the Gary Sinise Foundation back in 2011. We're almost entering our 13th year now. We've been involved in so many different things, and it's, so Lieutenant Dan is kind of a big part of all of that. We also have 20 years in Afghanistan, and so many who served there kind of struggling with their emotions and what happened after 20 years of sacrifice there. We're focused on a lot of mental wellness efforts at the Gary Sinise Foundation. One of those, you may know Lieutenant Colonel Scott Mann. He wrote a play called Last Out. This is very reminiscent of something that I did back in the 80s that was written by a group of Vietnam veterans, and they just wanted to get their story out. So they wrote a play, and now Scott Mann has the sort of modern day equivalent to what we did all those years ago. And my foundation is sponsoring Last Out on a 5-city tour coming up. We just did San Diego. We have a tour dates in Phoenix next month. So you can see all about Last Out and the May 26th concert at GarySiniseFoundation.org.
I'm glad you gave it out, because I was going to give it out. You do such amazing work. Gary, we love you. Have a great concert. And please tell all the Vietnam veterans, all of us here at Newsmax are welcoming them home always. Thank you.
Well, Rita, come to the concert.
I've been down there a couple times with you. I hope I may show up. Thank you, Gary. It's great to see you.
Take care.
Thank you, my friend, very much. And everybody, still more to come. Stay with us.
Real heroes.
Real conflict.
Real threats.
Real heart.
Now there's a place America gets its news.
No agenda.
Just the facts.
Newsmax.
Real news for real people.